And now, from the Room 111 studios, it's Hacking Engagement with James Sternovich.
Hey there, listener. Welcome back to the Hacking Engagement podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Now, this episode is about constructivist learning. Here's a definition from the University of Buffalo. Constructivism is the theory that says learners construct knowledge rather than just passively take in information. As people experience the world and reflect upon those experiences, they build their own representations and incorporate new information into their pre-existing knowledge. Love it. I promote it endlessly in my classes. Now, obviously, there's times when students just need to learn things. They need to learn long division. They need to learn how to do in-text citation. They need to learn those things. But we need to do more constructivist learning or teaching. It's really powerful. I grew up in the pretty and rolling eastern part of Ohio. We had a beautiful woods behind my house. And as a boy, I'd like to wander those woods. But as a kid, I couldn't tell the difference between a maple or an oak. Didn't worry about such things. I just liked being in those tall trees. I wasn't a great science student because in science classes, my attention often wandered and my grades were pretty pedestrian. But I did like the hands-on parts of science. Those engaged me more. And one project I actually loved, and it made a lasting impression. I was in this science class in high school, and just to show you how long ago it was, I don't even remember which class it was. Obviously it was maybe biology or something. I don't know. I don't remember. Earth science. I can't remember which one it was. But we were tasked to collect leaf samples. And this was in fall, like the beautiful time of year. And so every night after football practice, I would walk in those woods and I would collect leaf samples. And it was fun. It was exhilarating. I learned a bunch about the trees that I had always appreciated but knew little about. And I filtered my new knowledge through my extensive experience of walking in those woods. I developed a new understanding for how forests function. As I learned about the trees, I became passionate about sharing my knowledge, often with unenthusiastic recipients. I became passionate about trees, and my interpretation of the natural beauty behind my house evolved. I became curious about trees and sought more information. I still vividly remember this project and virtually nothing else about high school science, with the exception of the dissection. I do remember that part, which is hands-on again. This was a long time ago. This was over 4 decades ago, but this project made a huge impact on me. Still does to this day. Amazing. Now, when I ask students that I'm teaching, my future teachers, to recall a powerful learning experience, they often point to something similar. It could be like a capstone project. Or it could be like a breakthrough where they finally learned how to do something or master a skill. In most cases, students point to a memory where they were actively making sense of something, like the differences in the trees in the woods behind my house. Now consider every class that you've ever been assigned to teach. If you're like me, and I'll wager that you are, you have to figure out the curriculum guide or the syllabus from the past teacher. It becomes like a hands-on science project. It's often confusing at first, and it only starts to make sense once you implement your spin informed by your perspective. In other words, that's constructivist learning. You do constructivist learning when you figure out how to teach a class. My lessons generally end up looking a lot different than the person who taught the class before me. This process that I just described is constructivist learning. All learners, including teachers, preparing to teach a class, construct meaning from their own perspectives. This may lead to diverse understandings and diverse products or creation, but that's okay. We educators should embrace this variety. On the other hand, I often ask my students, how would you do if you had to retake the semester finals from last term. Most grimace and predict that they wouldn't do well. This is depressing. It points out the reality that many educators, and I'm guilty of this too, assess a lot of short-term memory. I'm not trying to come off as superior here. I've done this, my share of this. However, such learning events don't make much of an impression. So let's go for impact. And this, dear listener, is where Kennedy Borcoman makes a dramatic appearance. Kennedy is studying to be an elementary teacher, and she's going to be a great one. She was in my education technology class last summer, and she endorses the constructivist nature of my teaching style. We're going to discuss this approach. Buckle up, man. You're going to love this episode, and you're going to love her. She's great. Here's my elevator pitch for my brand new book, Teaching in Magenta. This book provides 100 ways to create a magnificent day in your classroom. Once you start stringing some magenta days together, you and your students will experience profound well-being and deep joy. That's Teaching in Magenta, which is now available on Amazon's virtual shelves. So here we are in the Room 111 studios, and I am here with a good friend. Her name is Kennedy Borcoman.
Hi.
Oh, that's beautiful. So you said hi before I even prompted you to say hi. Most people, I have to smack them and say hello. You're on top of it, man.
I am on top of it.
And listen, my prediction is you're going to back me up on this 1,000%.
Probably.
But I've been wrong. I've made mistakes in that regard. But it is October 3rd.
Yes.
It is drop dead gorgeous outside.
Yes. A little cold. A little chilly for my liking.
That is a matter of opinion. I think it is drop dead gorgeous. It's like 50s, probably get up in the mid-60s.
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, like 65.
There might be a cloud, but I haven't seen it. All the leaves are changing color. It's just a beautiful time to be alive in the state of Ohio. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree.
Now, how old are you?
19. I'll be 20 in April.
So you are walking around on a beautiful campus at age 19 on a beautiful day. Are you cognizant of what a wonderful time this is in your life?
Yes and no. I haven't had... my computer decided to give me a blue screen today.
Okay.
So I had to go to CNS to get it fixed, and it took like a whole hour.
Okay.
And then my brother called me when he should be in school.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, I need you to come home. I'm so lonely.
Oh, wow. But that's pretty impressive that you guys have that type of relationship.
Yeah, I'm very, very close with him. But I was like, I'm going to come home Friday, but you need to focus on school.
Kendrock, you're a good sister.
Oh, thank you.
But let me tell you that both problems you listed are examples of first world type problems.
Yep. Yep.
So that's the downside, but you're feeling pretty good otherwise.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good otherwise. I got a chicken salad sandwich for lunch with chips.
Very good.
I'm hanging out with Sturdivant. What else could I want?
Well, this is the deal. This is Kennedy, but I'm going to call her by her Sturdivant nickname, which is Kendrock.
Yeah.
Which has got a nice ring to it. Now, she's just one of those students that, you get this feel like her students are going to love her. I mean, they're just going to love her. She's just going to love the job. You're going to be a great teacher.
Thank you.
But when did you decide to become one?
I've always known I wanted to become one since like first grade.
Mm-hmm.
When my sister was old enough, her and I would play school together. And at our house we have like a closet cubby in between our rooms, and that would be our like imaginary lockers.
Yeah.
And I would always be the teacher, and I had like a whiteboard in my room. I still do. Now it's just like filled with names. Like if you stay in my room, you'll sign it like Kennedy is here, or Campbell is here. Yeah. So I would like use that, and we would play out a signer, like fake homework, have fake recess in our basement. And I was like, I like it.
So was there a teacher that really made an impact on you, or did you just decide, this is for me?
Well, I had a horrible first and second grade teacher.
So you felt like you could do it better.
Yeah, and then when I reached third grade, My IEP teacher, Miss Hutchinson, was absolutely amazing. Like, she helped me so much with everything because I was not the greatest kid in 3rd grade. Like,
You were probably just a little active.
I was a terror.
Yeah.
So she just really helped me, like, accept who I am, accept my learning disability, and get, like, hey, like, this is, you might have this, but it doesn't define who you are.
I love it. You need to make sure, is she still around?
Yes, she is still around.
You need to make sure that she knows this.
Yes. I actually, my high school, I student taught with her.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, see, this is the thing. I was a very unmotivated high school student, which I think helped me as a high school teacher. Because sometimes when, you have these teachers who everything just came easy to them, they just don't understand why students just don't get their act together.
Yeah. And I hated high school. High school was awful.
So my slackerdom has finally started to pay off when I became a teacher. So I think that you're going to be great at this because you're going to have a lot of empathy for kids.
Yeah.
Particularly ones who are struggling.
Yes.
Because you struggled.
Yes.
Perfect. That's a great answer. Now, picture Kendrock down the road, maybe 6-7 years from now. Describe yourself.
Well, I would love to teach 3rd grade math and science. I feel like I can teach it well without learning disability kicking in. I hope to be married, maybe starting a family if we're financially stable at that time. As far as where I want to teach or where I want to live, I do want to stay in Ohio, but I don't know where in Ohio.
Good attitude.
I kind of like want to be close enough where family, like grandparents, can come babysit my kids, but like farther away where like they don't come all the time.
So she's a Cincinnati girl, right?
Yes.
Yep. And so, Muskingum, where I teach and where Kendrock goes, is in Eastern Ohio, but you're pretty open.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's tremendous. Okay, now, this episode is about this concept called Constructivist Learning. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a definition of Constructivist Learning from the University of Buffalo. Constructivism is the theory that says that learners construct knowledge rather than just passively take in information. As people experience the world and reflect upon those experiences, they build their own representations and incorporate new information into their pre-existing knowledge. That really struck me because it's obviously what I have done throughout my life. Had you ever heard of this phrase constructivism or constructivist learning before?
Yes.
Okay.
We have talked about it in one of my education classes, actually.
Did it make an impact on you? Did it resonate with you?
It does, yeah. It was the one that I remembered out of everyone else.
So the whole concept is like this relevancy thing.
Yes.
So you're presented this idea or this concept. You obviously filter this idea through your own experiences.
Yes, absolutely.
So constructivist learning is the idea of actually not just acknowledging it, but leveraging it.
Yes.
So it could be like a lesson hook, or you going to your 3rd graders and go home and find an idea that represents this, or just taking it outside of the classroom.
Yeah, and especially, with COVID and stuff, I think we did a lot of this, especially with like icebreakers, like go find an object that like represents who you are.
Well, hold on. I talked a little bit too much there. I want to hear about your impression of constructivist learning.
So for me personally, I like constructivism learning because it'll give my future students a chance to do more than just understand the information. They can apply it to their prior knowledge and build upon that, which I think is super, super important when you are building your development in your learning.
So in other words, by doing this, not only are your lessons going to be more relevant, but they're probably going to be more engaging as well.
Yes, that's like one of my highest goals as a teacher, to make my learning as engaging as possible.
Perfect. You'll be good at that.
Thank you.
I mean, but you'll be good at that just by default because of your personality. But then if you combine that with solid lesson plans, it could be a powerful combination.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, now, you were in a class of mine last summer. This is so interesting, and this is a good segue. This is a good sidebar. Kendrock and I just met in person probably 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? But she was in a virtual class of mine last summer, and I felt like I really knew her well. So anybody who says that you can't develop relationships in a virtual class, I don't think that's true.
They are so wrong.
Yeah, you and I bonded. We did a lot.
Very first day.
We did a lot of mindless yakking about.
We did.
Unrelated things.
We did just about like random life stuff. Like I would be at work.
I gave you a lot of relationship advice.
Yes. You really did. I would be at work and I would be like doing multiple things.
Yeah.
And he would be like, "What are you doing? Like you should be paying attention. Like I am multitasking here."
So I thought that was really cool that you and I and the other students in the class had a darn good relationship.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm not sure I would have recognized you if I saw you on the street.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so assistive technology last summer. So this is basically education technology.
This was like 3 months ago?
Yeah. Now, I'm taking a stab at this. I'm guessing that you enjoyed the class.
Oh, absolutely.
But what was it about the class? And I'm not talking about just like from an enjoyment standpoint, but what was it about the class that you liked?
Well, the one thing I did like is the fact that we met on teams literally every single class that we had. And I know like a lot of summer classes do not do that.
Yeah.
And it really helped build our connection, I feel like.
Good time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I also like that we got to make a new creation.
There we go.
All the time. And you gave us the freedom for that. You gave us like some prompts, and then we had like 3-4 options.
Yeah.
And we got to like make a creation. And I actually made a Google Jamboard and a Google Drawing in my RV during your class.
Well, this is what I love so much about what you just said, because it was so important for me to give you prompts that were at the top of Bloom's taxonomy. They were asking you to create something, the highest level thinking there is. So when you saw that example, with your third graders in the future, you're going to prompt them to use those higher level thinking skills on a regular basis. Not that my class inspired, you probably would have done that anyway, but it probably reinforced your commitment to that.
Yeah, it really did, and it also allowed me to think outside of the box on what creation I wanted to do. I am master at hyperlinks now, thanks to you, because I would use them all the time.
Right.
I'm a master at Google Drawing, which I never used before until your class.
Right.
And Google Jamboard as well.
Yes. Now here's something else. Here's something else you said that was important. You said the one thing you also appreciated was that you had options to demonstrate your learning.
Yes.
So how did that impact you?
Well, for me, I am not a one-option kind of girl. I'm not.
I love it, man. I'm so glad you aren't.
I like to have different options because not one option does not work for every single student.
Right.
Every student learns differently, develops differently, and having different options will help them and not only, yes, be in their comfort zone, but maybe like want to challenge themselves. Okay,
perfect. Now, I'll see if you remember this. The way we assessed, though, was standard. In other words, like we'd have a single point rubric or a rubric that you would do a self-assessment of whatever it is you created. That gave it the consistency. Mm-hmm. But how you express that learning, you had leeway.
Yes, and I also liked that you were not being rude if we could not attend class, because there was one class that I couldn't attend, and like I could not attend one of the classes. It was summertime. I don't even know what I was doing. Oh, I had like physical therapy. I do remember that. Yeah. And like I couldn't attend one of your classes, and on the rubric it was like I presented to my peers, and I'm like, I put an X for no, and I was like, I was not there.
Well,
does this count?
I assumed the role of one of your peers, I think, and you presented to me, and it worked fine.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really good. I loved what you said. I wasn't anticipating that you were going to promote the idea of options in terms of what you created, but I'm really grateful that you did.
Thank you.
No, thank you, man. Okay, so one prompt from class was really lends itself to this whole concept of the constructivist learning. And this was, it was about like, I was trying to get you to do a project-based learning prompt.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing was I wanted you to recall like a learning experience you had from when you were younger. And that shows you like the power of what a project-based learning prompt can do. Talk about the experience you pulled up.
All right. Well, I was Michelle Obama. That's what I decided to do, and that's who I was portraying. I will say this was the most challenging out of all of your creations.
Yeah.
It took me a while to figure out what I was doing and how I wanted to present it. But basically, my horrible first and second grade teacher had us pair up in partners, and what we did was we researched famous people that impacted the early, this would be the early 2000s at this point. Mm-hmm. If I can go back that far and remember my life. So I chose Michelle Obama, and then my partner was Barack Obama, and we researched, we presented a poster, and then we actually dressed up as that character and presented our findings to our peers, to the parents. The parents came. My parents were in the front row recording. And it really was a staple point for me as becoming a teacher, because I got to teach this person to people who had no idea what was happening.
Okay, that's really a powerful story. Now, you're 19, right?
Yes.
So first grade, let's say you're 7 years old, 7 years old.
I probably was.
So this was 12 years ago. This was over half your life ago.
Yeah.
And this learning event made a huge impression on you in a class that you were, not all that, you were kind of negative about. That shows you the power of getting kids to be creative, getting kids to leverage their own experiences. What made you choose Michelle Obama?
I don't exactly know. I think that we drew from a hat.
Oh, okay.
But, I've always liked her as a person. She has been one of my heroes for a very, very long time.
So that was easy once you got that.
Yeah, so I was very excited to, pick her, when we got her. But, I will say that this is the one positive that came out of that class. I will not name her name.
No.
But that class was not the best.
Well, here's something that you might do, is you might reach out to her and say, I was asked to talk about a powerful learning experience, and I chose a learning experience from your class.
I don't know if she wants to hear from me, though. I was horrible in her class.
You might be surprised. It might be one of the most meaningful communications she has.
I don't know where she is, though. I have to find her.
Well, okay. I'll drop it.
She taught for so long, and then I think she finally retired 2-3 years ago, so I have no idea where she is.
Okay, but here's the thing. So you're given this prompt, and obviously, there were certain parameters, but obviously there was a lot of freedom as well.
Yes, there was a lot of freedom of how we wanted to design, what we wanted to do. Now, I know that Michelle Obama and I have very different skin tones, but to me that didn't matter at all. And I wanted to portray her and really do her legacy like she has and is continuing doing right now.
When you were, this was a long time ago, and you might not remember much of it. Well, actually, let me go a different route with this. So you think about that experience and how powerful it was for you. So you could see yourself when you are the teacher issuing a lot of prompts like this.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the one thing that I mean, besides many things that I want to take with me from learning from all of my different teachers, but this is the one thing that I cannot wait to do in my classroom, revamp it, make it modern day, and really see, them be the little teachers that I know that they can be.
Sure. So and you want them to leverage their personal experience to create something amazing, and that's constructivist learning, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I am very excited to do it with them. I knew since 2-3 months ago since we did this, I was like, yep, I'm adopting this, we're doing this.
Okay, so you've been a student for a long time.
Yes.
So you're 19, so you became a student when you were 5.
Sure, I don't know.
Yeah, 5. So almost 15 years. Hard to believe.
I mean, I don't
How can you be that old, man?
I don't know.
How can you be that old?
I don't know. I'm like the oldest cousin, oldest sibling, oldest grandchild. I don't know, okay?
All right, man. Life happens. So I'm certain that you've experienced both ineffective and effective instruction. I mean,
yes.
You've had good teachers, bad teachers. Everybody has.
Absolutely.
Okay, now, if you were to collectively give all the educators of America, or the world, I should say, why limit ourselves, a piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, I think that especially with COVID times, we are getting out of COVID, but it's still back in there, unfortunately. But I would say just from COVID and beyond, just to be empathetic.
Yeah.
And supportive of your students, because you never know what is going on outside of the classroom. Like, they might come to you and really tell you something that they're struggling with, and maybe they didn't do their homework because their mother is sick, or just something, whatever. But support them and be super empathetic, because they are going to rely on you more than you ever will know.
That's why you said what you said earlier in the podcast. You said I was empathetic when you missed a class or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, now I'm putting you on the spot. Don't choose me. Choose somebody else. What's another example of when some teacher was really empathetic to you and it was really helpful?
Mary Lynn McCollum.
Okay, another teacher here at Muskingum.
Yes.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. She's a very empathetic person.
She is amazing. She is not my aunt, but I call her my aunt. Yeah. She was very, very empathetic when I had a death in the family due to COVID. Like, I could not make a presentation that I was doing with a group, so she was very empathetic with that. I had to go home, last weekend to take care of my siblings, because parents were going to a event for their business. So she was very empathetic with me skipping class and just doing all of that stuff.
That's a good example.
That I need to do.
We're going to make her listen.
Oh, yes. We are going to make her listen. I cannot express how much she has really changed my life, because she's just amazing.
Well, Kendra, I mean, you were gonna knock those. You were gonna ignite those little third graders.
God,
someday.
thank you.
So, I mean, I can just sense it. I mean, they're just gonna love you, and you're gonna be empathetic, and you're also going to challenge them to do higher level thinking. You're gonna have a constructivist classroom. But what excites you? I mean, that excites me. What excites you?
Oh gosh. What excites me the most would probably be just getting to make a positive impact on my students. I mean, I'm only a sophomore here, but I cannot wait to leave college and just have my own classroom. I can't wait to decorate it. I can't wait to meet my students. I'm just so excited.
Okay, I'm going to lay something on you that sounds like such an old fogey dad thing to say. You ready?
Yeah.
Don't wish your life away. Something amazing could happen to you over the next 2 years, and if you pushed a button and now you're 2 or 3 years older, you'd have missed it.
True, but I'm just done with school.
Hey man, I love. Hey, what's going on right after this conversation?
I am working in the education department.
Hallelujah. Well, that sounds like a long walk from here.
It's a very, very long walk.
Beautiful. And all you Office fans of the sitcom The Office, Kendrock put a temporary workspace sign on my door to my big air quotes office, which I did.
I did.
And if that doesn't mean anything to you, then you got to watch like the first season of The Office.
He was sitting here, and I was like, "This is not an office. Like, you are amazing. You need your own personal office." And he was like, "This is my temporary workspace because I'm not here." You know, every single day, like how a lot of other education departments workers are. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go make you a sign right now. And I made him a sign, and it will never be away.
Hey, anybody that's an administrator here that has a chance to hire this young woman, you need to be all over it because she's going to be such a powerful presence in your school.
Oh, thank you.
She's going to be just a magnet for kids.
I have my first field placement tomorrow.
Hey, I want to tell you something about that. You go in there and you just be cool. Don't expect that you're going to love it. Don't expect that you're going to hate it. Just go in and just be cool and just absorb.
I'm very excited. Do I have my outfit picked out? Yes.
Oh, that's a given, man. I would have been very disappointed if you hadn't.
I picked it out Saturday.
Hey, man, I love talking to you. I love you. I love you and your friends. You have a wonderful... You got to promise me you'll acknowledge the beautiful day it is outside.
Oh, I will. Grace and I are going shopping after all of our classes, so we will acknowledge. We'll be outside shopping.
All right, my friend. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
So here we are at the What You Can Do Tomorrow section. I have two powerful directives for you. And the first is take the unit you're studying right now. And if you're almost done with it, maybe the next unit will be better. I don't know. But you need to create a hands-on learning experience for your students. You need to get their fingers dirty, at least from maybe their intellectual fingers dirty. You need to get them hands-on. You need to get them active in their learning. Instead of just sitting and listening to you, you need to get them active. And then number 2, seek to challenge students to do something outside of class where they can utilize their world, their existence, or maybe a past experience, but you want them to put these two things together. Hands-on, real world, hands-on relevancy. I mean, you can't beat that for an impactful learning experience. So, hey, man, constructivist learning is highly engaging and can make a lasting impact. I collected leaves over 40 years ago, and I still think about it every fall. Every fall I think about collecting those leaves in the woods behind my house. Hey, man, good luck tomorrow engaging your kids.
Show notes for this episode can be found at jamesalansturnevant.com. If you enjoy Hacking Engagement, please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes.